Welcome to this episode of Season Day Scholar, Season 3. We have been following Professor Ray for from the first season, and somehow the time has come. And now today we have with us Professor Chittaranjan Ray, who is permanent director of the Nebraska Water Center in Nebraska, Lincoln. And he is also by training, he is a civil engineer, and he did his PhD from University of Illinois. And he has been a thorough profile where he has been chief environmental engineer at University of Hawaii before Nebraska, and he also worked after PhD at Illinois State Water Survey. He understands, he's someone who is really at the top of bridge of quantity and quality, which is very much important for water security. Because nowadays, just an expert of quality or just an expert of quantity perhaps will not work. And he has a lot of work in India also. And so welcome to this, sir. It is very pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Manish.
Yeah. There will be 4 sections. First section will be about your you as a childhood and your upbringing, your roots, and until your PhD. And then we will talk about more about your PhD and afterward career. So PhD and post-PhD career. And then third section, we will take a lot of advice from you on the young researcher or as an administrator or several, what kind of qualities has to be there. And in the last section, we will get closer to you, that which flavor you like, which masala you like, what is the favorite food of yours. So we are going to have fun and in coming. So then let's start with section 1. Just briefly, can you, even starting with, what was your parents and where you born, whether you were a curious child since the very beginning, what was, Chittaranjan Ray as a kid?
Yeah, I was born in a very small village. Even now the population is less than 150 or so. And the nearest bus stop was about 5 kilometers. My father, actually, he had another younger brother, his older brother died just before marriage. So that was kind of a big shock for my grandmother, who I have never seen actually. She had died or just died around the time I was born. And I had an older sister. She died at the age 5. So, and before her, there is a long age gap. So from my father's side, 3 surviving sons, and one of the twin sons died, and also the daughter died. That was, child mortality was very high in those days, and especially in the village situation. The uncle's side is younger than my father, and he also has 3 sons. The oldest one is close to my age, 1 year older than me. So we grew up in the village, but it was a bit hard because my older brother went to study in a Santiniketan that time, and my uncle was supporting him, and the father came back home to take care of the farming. That was a difficult time. I remember I was small, and the food issue, sometimes they will run out of food towards the end of the season before the new crops are harvested. And I recall sometimes one day they had probably put some of these jewelries or silver or other things, these village people who lend money. I had walked with my father to one of the places. Normally he does in the evening time when nobody looks at it, what he's taking. So he might give a brass pot or some gold or something, or my mother's ornament or my aunt's ornament to bring some money and all those kind of things. But he was working in the field and all those. things. So anyway, gradually things changed. My older brother came back and he got married. He's about 19 years older than me, actually, long age gap. Then he got a teaching job in a college about 10 miles from our village. I stayed with him a year or so. Then he moved to a government college. And that's where I studied, staying with him and his kids, grade 6, 7 in the smaller place, and then went to the other city where he had a government job. So I started there on the 8th grade. But that was a very nice place, actually. In Odisha, I don't know if you know much about the freedom movement. There was a chief minister and his wife, Navakrishna Chaudhary and Malati Chaudhary. They had an ashram school. So that's where he admitted me for the 8th grade. But it was a smaller school, and then the nearby government school had a much bigger program. So I asked him, I want to go to the government school. 9th, 10th, 11th, that's where I studied. I had some good friends, and it was a competitive school because it was one of the places in central Odisha which was under British control for a long time, that had good educational institutions. Besides this government college, they had a teacher training college as well as a police training college. So I had good time there with good friends. So 10 of us passed the high school in first class. So out of 5 sections, maybe.
What will be that year?
74.
74, you passed your 10th.
11th,
and at that time,
11th grade. At that time, our system was 11 years was high school. Then you get 2 years ISC, intermediate science, and then you go into college, depending on. Yeah.
And that time, 60% marks was a huge.
60% was first. Yeah. 30% was a pass grade, 60% was first class. So 10 students got first class from the class of 200 students. A lot of good, good or bad things. It's a nice place, and the headmaster's son was my classmate, and he was the naughtiest guy in the class. A lot of times the headmaster will come and beat him up with a cane in front of everybody.
So who is eventually his father also? I mean,
who was his father, headmaster? Yeah. Yeah.
And yes.
So yeah, that was good thing. And then there was some competitive angle also. There was one student who stayed in that ashram school. He did very well. He was my good friend. It's a tribal area, so that's where I also got exposed to a lot of poverty. On the Sunday,
what is actually the city name or village name?
And the city name is Angul. That became later on a more industrial city, Angul. It was formerly in the Dhenkanal district. It was one of these Gurjat areas, but Angul had a tribal king, and I think the British took over it because he didn't have any offspring. So that was the first one to be annexed. But then it had 5 or 6 other small kingdoms. Dhenkanal itself had a king. Then Hindol, Atmalik, Talcher. Talcher is the mine city, coal mine, and all those things, and Palloda. All those are the Kamakshan or Nagar. So those are the subdivisions. So we're in Angul. So this is the place which joins Cuttack and Sambalpur on the highway, about 80 kilometers from Cuttack. So and also
I had one professor, colleague at IIT Gandhinagar, Professor Parnam Mahapatra. He was also, I heard from him that child, that mortality was really, really high. And he told that he is a single survivor of his 6 siblings or so. I don't exactly remember. What was the cause? Just poverty or?
Yeah, malnutrition. I had growing up a lot of health issues. First, probably rheumatoid arthritis, which was known later on. Then there was, I think in the 1957 or 59, they had the first drinking water well installed in the village. Otherwise, people are drinking water from ponds. There was a pond which nobody goes there for bathing and all that. So that they used to use for cooking and all that. Then yeah, all these giardia, malaria, other problems. So
so your
it's all.
village, even now, you are saying that 150 odd people is very less. I cannot imagine a village with 50 people, because it looks to me a mohalla, not a village. And your school was how far from your village?
The village school was like there are 3 small villages. Our was the smallest, and there are 2 others. So the junction of there's a road that joins the 3. So the elementary school was there, 1 to 5 was there. That was class sizes were 20-25 maybe that time for the 3 villages. Then I went with my older brother to study in the town there at Jagatsinghpur, which has become now a district, because Odisha had 13 districts around at the time of independence, but later on they broke it down to 30 districts. So our Cuttack district was the most populous, that broke into 4 districts. So we are the coastal part of Odisha. We are only 10 miles from the coast. So that became Jagatsinghpur district. So, and depending upon it's a little bit India, the system that we are considered as the warrior class. We are there to the long history of Odisha of anti-British movement. Before even the Sipai Mutiny, Odia warrior class fought with the British because they were put land tax after the British took over Odisha, 1807 or something around that time. So within 5-10 years, the revolution started that they won't pay the tax, because they were given land by the king to tax-free. They farmed, and at the time of the wars, they go and fight. That was their hereditary right to the land. They were never paying tax. So this is how it started. And you probably know that PM Modi, I think 2017, he came to Bhubaneswar, and that was recognizing the Odia fighting class for their contribution to the fight against occupation. So then the tribals also helped, and there are a lot of things, and that went through. So a lot of non-cooperation. You see the south or north, both Chennai and Calcutta became the British administration's headquarters, and the local people collaborated in the sense that they had jobs. And so but the ODIs,
isn't
but
it
the ODIs
a late recognition, like 2017, but it was 2047. I mean, the 1947 we.
Yeah. Yeah, that was long, because that is long story that how these people lived. But they basically fought, but went to hide in the jungles or somewhere, living their families. But there was a long operation to somehow capture these, and they were hanged, some of them. And so finally it got resolved. But then what happened, that the way it happened, that to suppress a whole state is by financially draining it out. So that happened. They broke the state to 2 parts. First thing, they tried to kill the language so that this unity will break. So then the second was that auctioning the land of the people who did not want to or could not pay the tax to people. So people from out of state came and bought the jamindaris in Odisha. Jamindaris, those are the landlords. So they were auctioned off and all that. So that's how it started. Yeah. So the state got divided into 2 parts. So there was a lot of, I would say, agitation and all that. Finally, and also some of the royal families, like the Gajapati king of Paralakhemudi, that's southern border of Odisha. They were instrumental. Then the Madhusudan Rao, he was the lawyer, UK trained. So they went fighting, and in 1936, before Bengal, Odisha, Bihar, they were one province. Then Bengal became too big. Odisha, Bihar remained one. Then in 1936, so Odisha separated from Bengal, and then this was on the linguistic line. That's how it came. So those are kind of the long histories of things.
Yeah,
So
but how much do you remember of those times? I mean, 1977. You are. It seems to me that you are post independent born, right?
yeah. By the time I was growing up, like in the 2 years in the high school in the nearest subdivision, that was the time of the communism or Maoism. I don't know what you call the left front movement agitation, because I have a lot of relatives. They were labor leaders also. So those days they were members of the PSPs, Praja Socialist Party. So like Ram Manohar Lohia or George Fernandez, so that's their motto. So I mean, many of them were freedom fighters, but at the same time, they married a working woman or a wife, so that who can take care of the children. And they were on and off in jail and out. So those that was a little before independence, but after independence, of course, there are political issues. Some of them went out of Congress, and all those things were going on. But the instability in the colleges or high schools were going on that time when I was in high school. Even student movement was very strong, powerful. Students were agitating, and even the high school I was studying in Ongul. My brother that time did not have a government quarters for some reason. He came late and it was not available. We were in a rental place, but pretty close to the government quarters. One night, a bomb blast in the principal's quarters, and the students did that. So those are like police firing. All those things are going on in the late 60s, early 70s. So that was the time.
So what
Yeah.
was
So
your? I mean, there was at least your elder brother is doing a study. What was the effect of your parents on you or your elder brother on you? I mean, so either you were self-motivated towards the studies, or there were some influence of the.
I would say it's more self-motivated, but I had a shelter, like a place where you can stay away from the place.
All
And
these.
then, yeah, because my cousin also, can say the uncle's son, he was with me also, but he kind of dropped out of high school also at the last 10th or so. He didn't finish, went back to the village. So I had also some chores to do, like, even 6th and 7th, I used to go to the market, bring stuff. That was, and also sometimes for evening you have to make the roti, the dough preparation, because there are no girls in the family that time. So that was I was doing. Then some of the friends will come and peek through the window that let's go and play. I said I have to finish and then go. So those things I was doing. Then in high school also same thing. My older brother used to tell me in the once a week go and get some meat, but he will tell me, these guys, when they kill the goat, you ask for this portion. I said, okay, I ask. But when I come back and while eating, if I bite some cartilage thing, I used to say that I won't eat that because I probably bit the ear of the goat. He gets mad at me. He said, no, they don't put the ear. So then finally I didn't like to eat goat meat or any meat.
So still you are a vegetarian or non-vegetarian?
I eat some fish or some chicken, but it's getting less and less now. So.
Yeah, with time. So after schooling, you went to college.
Yeah, so college was after finishing the high school. Then I applied. I think this is a high school also. I went through a lot of health issues. I had typhoid. Then that typhoid relapsed again within 2-3 weeks. That's a strange thing that when you have typhoid, you're bedridden and you're just eating boiled soup with vegetables and all that. So one day my sister-in-law was not there. I went to the kitchen and ate some pickle. So I don't know what, within 3 weeks I get back again that typhoid. So anyway, so those things were there. So, but I think I was still very strong-minded, and in the colony where we are staying, there are some college students also. And I used to walk from that place to the high school. It was about 3 kilometers or 2 to 3 kilometers. Some of these college guys used to joke with me, the engine, I think the steam has gone down. I used to walk slowly back by the time I reached home. But they're good inspirations. I used to go and talk to them, and there was another faculty, and there are few people. It was a very good environment. And then I had a very close friend. I have lost touch with him over the years. His last name is same as mine, Hruday, his first name. So, so that was
Rudra
good
Ray.
time. Hruday, Hruday,
Oh,
Hruday.
Hruday.
We call Hruday in Odia. I like hat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was trying to inquire about him. I knew his village name, but some people, but I have to have some time to go there. Otherwise, it's not easy. So it was a good place. Then going
what
to college,
subject you chose?
In the college, science.
In the
And the
college.
2 years I stayed there after high school, the on-gold college. So there also I had another friend. He came from Talcher because he was his father was a superintending engineer. There you see bigger people coming, bigger, older kids and all that. So they were coming every day by bus or on some sort of NTPC transport bus to study and going back same day. Since I was in one of the, my brother was teaching there. So when it comes to, he was a Odia lecturer. So they had to put me in another section because it'll be kind of awkward to be in his class. So I was in the class of another professor. His name is Ganguly sir, we used to call. He was a very simple man, never married, and had adopted his niece. I heard later on that he became a monk, moved to Himalayas somewhere. So he was my Odia teacher. Then is maths, physics, chemistry, biology, and kind of irony that the guy who was my math teacher, Bikram sir, he was very nice to me. He was actually strange thing that he ended up marrying one of my classmates towards the end. So, but his younger brother, I know he was my 4 or 5 years senior to me in the college I studied after for my undergraduate in the engineering. Then in physics, there was a Professor Prahlad sir. He was very good to me. I used to go and sometimes study a little bit. Later on, he was a member of that Physics Institute, Institute of Physics at Bhubaneswar. Chemistry, some other professor. Biology also, there was a sir. I remember all those things now. But in high school also, there was a motivating motivation for me, Surendra sir. I remember his name. Very nice person, but one day he slapped me for something. I don't know. That's the only thing I remember. But
still, you cannot forget that slap.
No, but still, he was my most favored teacher. So, those days they might tutor, but I never remember giving money to any of those people. They always tell me you can come and study free. So that's what I did.
So I think you were a special since childhood. Maybe we were not knowing, but yeah, I mean, teachers have this property to identify the talent. That's why they were so close to you.
Yeah. So after finishing ISC, then I applied. I had a few chances. I could have gone into the medical. Then after based on the ISC results, I got the National Merit Scholarship. I think that time it was what, 210 rupees a month. And if you stay in a dorm somewhere, a hostel, you get another 15 rupees. So I applied to few places. I didn't want to go for non-technical areas. And then I thought I'll study either medicine or go to OEOT, agriculture or technology or something. So medicine, I could have got in a direct admission because each of the 3 colleges in Odisha, they have 25 seats for the top ranking. I think I could have, but the money was another issue. So I thought I'll just go to agriculture engineering. So I got in there. Around that time, the first year or something, yeah.
Which
My
university?
brother also. Odisha University of Agriculture and Technology in Bhubaneswar. So 76, I got enrolled there. So 1 year I stayed. Then my brother went from Ongul to Puri 1 year, but from Puri he got transferred back to Bhubaneswar, BJB College. So then he had a quarters. Actually, 1 year he had to stay in Old Town.
So by that time he was not married?
No, he was. I mean, he's 19 years old. So when I was 6 or 7 years old, that's a long story. I should have said that. He married in the next village because his father-in-law was a postman. I don't know how he retired, maybe some. And he was also working in Andaman. It's a big person, actually. He's like a 6 feet with 200-pound type big person. Very intimidating guy, but very loving, and 2 daughters, no sons. And he inherited the properties of 3 of his uncles also. It's a bigger house, big 3 or 4 ponds, and sometimes my sister-in-law's younger sister, she was my age, about a year older than me. I used to go there, and but at the time of the marriage, I had gone, and then what happens that the procession was there. I was afraid of these big firecrackers. So when they are doing that, I kind of ran and to their house, and I was hiding somewhere in the room where the bride was there. They did not know where I was. They were looking for me, that I 6-year-old or something. So he was married at the age 25, so 19.
Yeah,
plus.
Yeah.
So then the kids were born. Yeah,
sort
his
of
kids
always provided that, so during college you were with him, and then also in university.
High school, yeah. So I basically stayed with him, and the kids were born. 2 of them were born in, I think, in Jagatsinghpur, I believe, that where he was in the private college for 5 years. And then the younger one was born in Ongul, where I was just going to high school. So they were growing up, yeah. And my cousin was also with us in Ongul, but he left. He dropped out of the high school, and the younger brother, he stayed in the village. He was there with the parents and all that. So that's how it grew. And Bhubaneswar, my second year, I believe, yeah, my older brother got transferred. So some of my friends also knew him, and so he, in the beginning, he stayed in the old Bhubaneswar near the Lingaraj temple, just behind the temple, actually. So I used to go in the evening there, eat there, and then come back to class. And sometimes, it was a bicycling distance, and I used to go home and eat and then come back because we get a 2 hours break. But what happened that one of the professors there, Professor F.C. Das, he said, "Why are you going in this heat every day?" Yeah, heat. So, I don't have a meal plan because, I just cannot have lunch. I have to have the whole thing. I just have the room. I stay there. But he said, "I'll just make an exception for you that you will only take the lunch." So they did that. So I stopped coming during the lunchtime. So because, you come home, you're completely sweating, then you eat and then rest for 30 minutes, then back in bike again. So 2 o'clock, the classes will begin. So that was, then I finished, but I had a lot of, naughtiness in the college.
Really?
24 students, not me, actually, my friends, I would say.
Oh, okay.
24 students. It's all male. It's men's. Now they take girls. That time only boys. 24. We had a classmate. Actually, in fact, Draupadi Murmu's town. Actually, he was a Rairangpur guy, Ram Singh, Moribhanj district. So it's kind of, I was remembering. I said I need to make some connection with him because that's. Finally, those classmates, we have a small group, we are talking once in a while. So after year 1, then I got transferred to another room. There was a lot of things like, they used to put us like 4 students in one room. then we had a senior guy. One day said, "Why these rooms are empty and let's break them up and just stay two per room." So everybody did that. But anyway, there was some compromise. I ended up staying with two senior students. They were 2 years older than me, one in a 5-year program, one in a 4-year program. So I recall the one in 2 years senior to me in the 4-year program. He's more like an athlete type guy. But he's also very ambitious, and he had some discussion about these foreign studies and all that. Then that's how I got more motivated that I will look for a place to go and study outside. I started looking into programs. So in my junior year, I started applying to places outside. But in Canada,
so
fortunately,
that time internet was not there. So what were the means with which
writing
you were
handwritten letters to the places. So there's a little bit of guidance there because the university was set up by that PL 480 program, where Pantnagar was set up by Illinois. I forget that Jabalpur Agriculture University, some other school. Our was by Missouri, University of Missouri, Columbia. So there were many faculty members coming from Missouri, and then the counter visits of Odisha faculty going to Missouri, or so that was going on. There was some familiarity with the exchange. So there are people who knew about this. When I started writing these letters, somehow I was lucky that I got a response back from the University of Manitoba. My former professor, Frank Pencava, they said they have admitted me to a master's program. So end of my 3rd year. So I was, or beginning of the 4th year. So I had admission in hand. Still 1 more year to go. I said I don't want to borrow any money, and they said they will give some money to start with. I forget what, $550 Canadian dollars stipend a month. And so I applied for a loan from the government, but they said if you study in a branch for which there is no program in India, we can give you a one-way air ticket and 1 month's living expense. Since you have the stipend, you don't need more than 1 month. So that's what happened. But also my mother was not in favor of coming. So she was crying. I said, so I had saved a lot of money from my scholarship. I was staying with my brother. So it's still like every year is easily saving $1,000 or so. Then I went to Bank of Baroda one day. Somehow I was by myself. And I said, I want to talk to the manager. And I showed him the letter of admission. He said, how much money you need? I said, maybe 5,000-6,000. He said, okay, I'll give you this loan in 4% interest. When you get the job, just pay us back. And that's what, without any guarantee or anything, just based on that letter.
So I mean, the study loan, you were not knowing that whether a study loan is there, but eventually you got one.
Yeah. That time when I got the admission, I was trying to explore think that I don't want to ask anybody for money. I just want to go on my own. The initial expense of few $1,000s. So in fact, I ended up meeting Biju Patnaik one day. This is a very strange thing. Maybe someday he was not in power, but people used to say that he used to help people to go study outside. And he was a big man. If you ever look at, one day I can send you a few video links that everybody has the highest regard for him, that he's tough like a lion outside, but like a puppy inside. So one day with my bicycle, I ended up at his gate. He has a house at the airport where Naveen Patnaik, the present CM, lives. So then I asked that I want to see the Sar. So he said, he's taking his tea, he can go. He just let me go. And Biju Patnaik tells everybody like, in Odia, we have a word, tume means it's the same level, tu means something younger. So he kind of said, yeah, why are you here? As I have admission,
so
but I want
you can use that phrase.
Lower, yeah, it's two. Yeah.
So tume ka koi si, or I mean, what was the incomplete sentence?
So I said, I have this admission. I want to go and study and I need some help to buy the ticket and maybe a little bit the initial expense. So I said, I think he was in a bad time that time because he was in out of power, political power for a long time. Congress was ruling for years that time. So he tells me to sit down. Then he said, no, I have seen, he said, you have not seen this country. I have been involved in the Rajasthan canal. I have seen those things. Why you want to go? There are a lot of things to be done in this country. So that's what he was saying. But anyway, so he let me go. But I kind of internally felt that, he probably is not in a good shape right now as he used to be. But that was a good thing that, he never misbehaves people knowingly anything that. So then I came back and then I thought maybe I'll just pursue this loan with the government.
So here, just one thing I wanted to make clear is that you had saved 1,000 rupees, not dollar, during your
in a few thousand rupees, yeah, like out of 4,000 rupees scholarship, 4,000, 110 rupees per month. So that's what I was saving every month, 110 rupees per month.
So you said 240 plus 15, 255 or something you were getting per month.
No, 125. 110 rupees per month as the scholarship, national scholarship, and 15 rupees extra they are giving if you stay in the hostel. It's 125 per month. So the expense was not there because, I used to bring, I had classmates. There is one here, I don't want to name people. So these are more elite. His father was a principal in some college. They will go in the afternoon to have their snacks in the shops around the things. But I don't eat there. I come home, breakfast or other things. I bring my stuff like, chuda. You know what chuda?
Yeah, I know. We eat a lot of them. With the rice,
flattened rice.
Flattened
rice with maybe some sugar and maybe banana or something.
Yes, sometimes nowadays we are eating with mango.
Yeah. So that was a little bit tough, and there is no bad feeling for anybody, but it's just the issue. It was not me. There are also a few other friends who came from a pretty marginal background. So they used to bring their own chuda and, the chinies, that rice, I mean, the sugar and all those things. That's the breakfast. But other guys will go to the nearby shop to bring bada or this idli or dosa or whatever they go. So that was the breakfast is not done at the in the morning. I'm forgetting what is now the thing, but that's what I.
So I mean, 1,500 you were getting. If I calculate 125 into 12.
Yeah.
So 1,500 you were getting annually, and you were in 4 years program or 5 years?
Yeah, 4 years. So 6,000.
4 years. So 6,000. Out of that, you saved 4,000 to 5,000, I guess.
4,000 probably.
Wow. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah.
Then this bank manager gives me 6,000.
10,000.
So
and government has given you.
No, then what I did that I gave that money to my mother. I think probably a younger brother and mother that you keep that money, 10,000 rupees. Then I got a job with so after the admission, I said, okay, the money from the government is not coming because there was, I did not realize that, in order to get anything out of the government, you have to push it or you have to bribe a little bit, all those things. So it didn't happen. I said, then the people in Canada were getting anxious. Then I asked them to extend the admission for another semester. They did that. And I told my brother that, and then by that time I got a job. Everybody got a job those days, but I took a job right in Bhubaneswar behind the campus in the soil conservation department as a junior engineer. But the executive engineer was very nice to me. While working there, I worked with somebody to work on a paper. Actually, it was published in one of these journals with one of my professors. So he was very open to me, do whatever you want to do, and getting the rainfall data from the airport, doing analysis, all those. So finally, I told my brother that, it's not happening. We have to talk to somebody. So he knew the minister, one minister from our area. We went to his office. He kind of scolded somebody in front of us using bad words, I recall. But then he said it will be done. Somebody came to see us. Then it took a week or two, and then still something. And then my brother says, "Oh, just give this person few hundred rupees." I say, "Why?" Just to get that money, something. The ticket was about 500 some dollars, $600, and 1 month five. I forget what the amount. That's one-way ticket and 1 month. So anyway, finally I got the money, and then the engineer supervisor told me, just write your resignation letter on my desk and leave. Don't wait for my my approval to leave. So he was very nice to me. Then I went to see some of my friends the last month of before departure in Western Odisha.
Mm-hmm.
That was very nice, actually. Some of them are working in rehabilitation projects for the Rengali Dam. One was, it's 1 year older than me, so 35 kilometers I had to go in a tractor, because you cannot take a jeep also. You have to cross a river. After I came back, my ribs were sore for like 2 weeks. So then other places, few friends in Sambalpur area and all that. So many of them came to see me off. One close friend came with me to Delhi by train, Utkal Express those days. So people came to see me off, and the train was led by 10 or 12 hours. And I cannot speak Hindi, and he speaks broken Hindi. And we are arriving, the train arrives 10 or 12 hours late in the night, and he's kind of trying to fight with the taxi where we are going. We are going to IRI hostel somewhere. We had a senior, Professor Ravi Panda, he was at IIT Kharagpur. So he hosted both of us. Then I had to buy the ticket, took us to Connaught Place, and then saw me off. There are a few faculty members also. So that was a good thing. So
here
then
you are saying that during job you saved money to go to there.
Job, I forget what was the salary that time. It's about 500 rupees or something, 500 or so in the soil conservation. Yeah, I was probably saving some money there. But main thing is that the loan what I was waiting for, that air ticket and air ticket and 1 month's expense. Which was sanctioned from the government. I wanted to get that rather than taking anybody's money. So I thought that's a more legitimate way to get that, since I qualify for that. So that kind of delayed the whole thing. And then also trying to resolve some of the issues at home. My mother was.
But finally you got that government help.
Yeah. Yeah, got it. So, but what happened that, at the last day, my brother still says, you pay this man 200 or 400 rupees. I say, why? So I say, anyway, I say, this is not the fair thing that, you are getting a. So, but anyway.
Yeah. So this was for master degree, right? ME.
Masters, yeah, Canada. So it's a year and a half pro.
I mean, there is a two thing special here. One is that even those days, going for PhD, maybe people used to do, but in your case, it is a little bit special because you went for master first.
Yeah, and that was agricultural waste management or a reuse program, like using wastewater for irrigating crops.
And that is what you are still managing. It is still relevant. It is a very, very relevant topic even now. So how was the Canada stay for 2 years?
1.5 years, actually. 1 year and 7 months. Yeah, they thought I can finish in 15 months or 18 months. 15 months. I think it took 18 months or so, because the field site was 400 kilometers from the campus, and I ended up there in December end. Always so they say, cold. But there are certain things you get in your life. You don't ask for it, but they kind of help you in future. I landed like 2 days before the end of the year. I think for some reason I was qualified to get some kind of health benefits in the Canadian system the next year. So I think health insurance, everything was free, of course, there. There was a person, they tried to teach me driving, but it was not easy, driving a pickup truck. So one person used to go with me. We used to collect wastewater from a town, 400 kilometers, go early in the morning, 6 in the morning, and back 6. Then I used to store those things, analyze for the nutrients, and then in the greenhouse, started doing this experiment, some kind of grass, looking at treatment with this, that, or various combinations and all that. But of course, you cannot store wastewater for a long time without denitrification. So I was seeing the nitrate loss happening. Then I was interested also that while doing this work, I was measuring the soil moisture using some electrical resistance blocks and trying to calibrate against some other techniques. The professor was a very fine gentleman. He was of Czech origin, Czechoslovakia. During the Russian occupation of Czechoslovakia, he left. He went to Ethiopia, then Ghana. From Ghana, he moved to Canada, and he had a couple of kids. And very nice gentleman. I worked with him, Frank Venkava. He was getting into some health issues by the time I was there, but after I left, he passed away actually when I was in Texas. So, so that was the thing. He helped me to finish the work. The people, he had a bunch of money. I think one day he told me he will take me for a tour of Western Canada. So he had two engineers. Actually, one engineer and one project administrator type person. I don't think she's an engineer. Then some of the government personnel, couple of them, I said, let's go and visit all the wastewater irrigation projects in Western Canada, from starting from Manitoba. Manitoba did not have one, the first one I was working on. They had some in Saskatchewan and Alberta. Then he made also sure that I see the country. I recall summertime, and sometimes I doze off, and then he tells me, one day he told me, oh, you don't sleep, but see our country, and don't doze off. Then one place, I still have a picture somewhere. We stood, that is International Peace. So this is the US-Canada border. It's a place called, there are two stones. One side is Canada, one side is US. So you can put both legs in both sides. Actually, I stood in Canada side, he stood in the US side. And we have a picture somewhere. I have to find it actually. It's just those days, it's all print copies. Yeah. Then he took me to Alberta. Alberta has a big irrigation system. We stayed in Lethbridge. A lot of places actually, the Saskatoon area, the irrigation systems, and it was a 10-day tour. So it was eye-opening for me. And I had a little scholarship money or a prize money from a water institute in Regina. So he kind of put that together. I said, it'll be good to have this trip along with that. So finished. And then I was taking some classes in civil engineering that time. I somehow saw that maybe more opportunities are there in civil engineering because some of my classmates were civil engineers. There was a professor, Australian professor Ian Goulter. He was an inspiration also, teaching hydraulics. So I studied with him, taking open channel hydraulics type classes there. Then I thought I'll just go to civil engineering and be in a big mainstream engineering and learn. So got admission to Ph.D. program at Texas Tech, Lubbock. And they also had some wastewater irrigation going on and some other things there. So and there also, it was a long trip. I remember that I took a bus with 10 boxes of books with me and other stuff, traveling for 2 days from Winnipeg to Lubbock, Texas. Then on the way in the bus, I had a couple of companions, two older ladies from Oklahoma. And we talked and all that, still good friendship with them. Maintained for a while and ended up in Lubbock, Texas. There found some friends it's a kind of different place coming from Winnipeg to Lubbock, where open air. I have verandas in buildings. You can sit outside. Coming from Canada, it's all enclosed with all that. So it's warm. So there got into the PhD program, but then I had to go through the masters and all that. There was a new professor came from I believe Colorado State, and he was pretty well-known professor in what environmental chemistry, water chemistry. G. Fred Lee, I think some of you might have heard his name.
Mhm.
So he kind of he moved to New Jersey within a year or two after coming there. So he said, "Come with me." I said, "Okay." Then I have to. I think that was a little bit of a hassle occurred with me because I had to change my program from PhD to master's, get a master's degree, and leave with him. He moved to New Jersey Institute of Technology there with an endowed.
So he was not your PhD supervisor at that time.
No, because first the Texas Tech Water Resources Center had given me the money to come there to study, and since they knew that I was working on this area, they had other wastewater irrigation projects. So that's what I was asked to do. Recharge through playa lakes. These are like clay bottom lakes, and how can you enhance the recharge? So I use some electroosmosis as a technology to enhance particle migration, fluid migration. At the same time, you try to capture heavy metals. So then I also helped another professor in measuring soil moisture in a deep soil cores. Basically, they are trying to Department of Energy project, trying to inject air into the aquifer to enhance push the water out, so to reduce the pumping cost. So it was good 2 years. And then I had some good friends there. Then when
so
this
from
professor
Canada,
yeah.
from Canada, not somebody was like saying that please do PhD with me. How they allowed you to go to the US?
Oh, I applied looking at places where they are working on wastewater area, and Lubbock, Texas had a long history of using wastewater. I think that was I don't know how I'm forgetting how many places I applied. More in the civil area, because I recall consulting with Professor Golter, Ian Golter, and his students. They say maybe civil engineering will be a good option because it will be much more a broader field. And that's how I applied. And tech, I forget what other place I had applied those days.
And then how University of Hawaii happened?
Oh, that's a long time. That so after finishing
No,
my
Illinois.
Illinois, yeah, okay. So from Texas Tech, when I moved to New Jersey, it's a big city in Newark, New Jersey. The school is not that great, but they had given him an endowed position. So he said, "Oh, okay, you just come to my home and work with me," all those kind of things. And he had like a library of things at home. He's like in a constant writing. Even he's still alive, actually. He and his wife, that time Dr. Jones was, she was still, they just got married around that time. So I used to go to his house.
Till now, you were not married.
No, I was not married then. I was,
yeah.
Yeah. So I was with him, and after one semester, I told him, "No, I don't like this school very much. I want to work and maybe get a PhD somewhere later on." He said, "If you ever decide to go for PhD, I can help you." I said, "Okay." His good friend was Walter J. Weber at the University of Michigan. He wrote a very strong letter for me, actually, after I worked for 3.5 years. So that transition was that after 6 months or one semester, I looked for a job in New Jersey. So ended up with a very, it's always somebody has a grace on you, God. You always find the best people to look after you. So Vincent W. Vince Yule, he was the manager of one of the offices of this company called Daugherty and Miller, which is now part of this Arcadis Daugherty Miller. So it was bought by a Dutch company. That time it was the biggest groundwater consulting company in the US, and it's rising days of environmental remediation. So it was a Hackensack, New Jersey office, and I got this job. So stayed with them 3.5 years. They helped me to sponsor the green card. Then I told Vince that I will go and get a PhD somewhere, not in NJIT, because if I have to get a PhD, better to get from a big place where there are well-known professors and all that, and where I can get a degree after finishing. Yeah, where I can get a teaching job after finishing my PhD. So Dr. Lee, who brought me from Texas to New Jersey, he said, I'll write a letter for you to Willie Weber, he calls him, and they were classmates in Harvard. Then he admitted me. Then I had also 2 other admissions, one from Wisconsin as a teaching assistant, and Illinois, but the professor admitted me without money. But I had one, there is another person I'll mention. Okay. So this person in Illinois, I met an Indian guy. He's kind of my mentor, I would say, still alive in California. He's 80 some years old. That time he was the head of the Army environmental, sorry, let me go back a little bit. He was the head of the environmental division of the Army's construction engineering research lab in Champaign. So one day I went to see him. That
but you have not named yet him.
His name is Dr. Ravi Jain.
Ravi Jain.
Yeah, he comes from a very distinguished family in Punjab area. That time he came to US at age 18. He basically grew up his adulthood, and he married locally, and he had 2 kids. Actually, his kids are marvelous. Actually, his daughter was the CEO of Tapestry Coach company.
Wow.
But he is also like a person, like, you feel outside can feel him a little stern maybe, but internally very soft. So he told me one day, he said, he knew that I have come from Texas Tech, so that's why he got his PhD from Texas Tech. A lot of Americans also worked with him, and they, most of them said that I was like a puppy, and he groomed me, and he helped me, all those things. So he said, you get admitted, I'll find the money for you. If you can get admitted in Illinois, I'll get the money, PhD money for you. So that I had that offer, then TA position from Wisconsin. But since Dr. Lee said go and work with Walter Weber, Weber is by far the most famous professor in environmental engineering. I think physicochemical treatment, the book that was written by him. So University of Michigan. I think he passed away recently, looks like. So that year I went, and he was not around, but he had assigned one student to give me a tour of the lab. My wife and myself, I had resigned from the job. I had bought a new car.
So you married now?
Yeah, I married 88
after
summer.
Doing some job.
After doing the 3.5 years. Yeah.
At New Jersey?
New Jersey, yeah. So my wife has a sister that time in Illinois. She was going to school in a smaller campus of the University of Illinois, Springfield campus. So I met through a friend.
So she was her elder sister?
Yeah. And then I had a good friend in New Jersey. His older sister was in Chicago. They drove me to their house. That's how. And the proposal was from the village, my younger brother and her brother's side came.
Wow, how it was connected? Because even phone that time, maybe I don't know how much it was working.
No phone.
We are talking about 80s, right?
Yeah, no phone that time. It was still writing. But then my younger brother and her brother, I think the proposal might have come from their side to my younger brother. Was a school teacher. They probably knew him. So then they wrote to me that to go and see this girl.
Who was at that time in the US?
US, because he had come to do a master's in MIS.
Oh my
Management Information Science. So I said, okay.
So see, I mean, nowadays people say Sadi.com or those things are so much famous, but that system was so strong there that somebody who is in the US is already found by the. So she is also from Odisha, right?
Yeah. Only 5-6 kilometers from our place. Yeah.
Wow. So how? So which year did you marry?
88 June.
June. So you just celebrated your anniversary already?
Yeah, June 20. Actually, a few days left still. So today, one more day, 26th.
Wow. So best, I mean, the best wishes. And of course, I met ma'am. So yeah, she looks like made for each other. Yeah, please. Yeah. Then
Yes. Then
Ravi Jain has sir has met you in New Jersey.
no, it's kind of getting confusing probably that, when I was in New Jersey, I came with Dr. Lee, G. Fred Lee from Texas Tech to New Jersey. But then I told him that I don't like this school that much. It's more a commuter school and evening classes. And I need to if I have to go for teaching, I need to go to a big school. He said, I fully understand and I can help you to get to, Michigan, where my friend is the professor. He's probably one of the best known environmental engineering professors in the country, Walter Weber. So I had that plus TA assistantship from Wisconsin. Professor Monkmeyer, he had offered me groundwater area and TA position. And then my advisor in Illinois, Albert Valoki, they admitted me, but he said, I don't have any money. And if you can find money, I'll be more than happy to take you. Then Dr. Jain in Illinois, he was with the Army lab, right? There are many of the students or their workers who are employees of the University of Illinois. So he told me, you get admitted, I'll find the money. So that's at it. The money was sitting there. But still, I went to Michigan one day. The cost of living in Ann Arbor, the stipend was $950 a month. Cost of after taxes, you get about $800 a month. And I could not find one bedroom, unfurnished apartment in Ann Arbor for $600 that time, less than 600. And there was an Indian professor there. Actually, he helped me, and I was sitting in his office calling few places and all those. Then we stayed one night, and I said, okay. And the student of Professor Weber gave me a tour. That also gave me a little bit sour feeling to some extent. I was coming after 3.5 years of work. He said it takes quite a bit of time with Professor Weber to get a PhD, 5-6 years typical. I was thinking I can finish in 3 to 4 years, 3.5 years. Said no, I said okay. Then without saying no, I went back to Illinois. My brother-in-law was also not happy that it will be 8 hours drive from their house to Ann Arbor, Detroit area. And then one day I come back and I asked Professor Valoki that I came back from Michigan. I said,
Valoki is V from V?
V like Victoria, Valocchi.
Yeah.
So that's how it happened. I just started with him, and the money came from the Army Environmental Division of the Construction Engineering Research Lab there. And they gave me a project to work on, looking into hazardous waste minimization at federal facilities, Army bases, military bases. So that was the project.
How was Albert Valochi? I mean, he is also a tall man like you, and also I could now, tall and thin.
Thin, yeah. A very nice man. Of course, that time I came and I was a little older than many of his students because I had worked and with 2 masters by then. So very nice gentleman, and his wife, they didn't have children actually. So that time, so his wife Denise, she and my wife became good friends. Then during the PhD, their son was born, Ben, his name, Benedito Valoki. So very loving kid, and my wife helped. Then after a year or close to a year, I think he was born in February. Our daughter was born in November. So became very good friends.
So actually, because we are starting the section 2, where we are going to ask some question is that, so any, the learning that was, because you went with the experience, so how did you choose your topic of the PhD? How was the impression, something that you learned from your supervisor, which still remains in you?
So, as I mentioned that the initial money was from the Army lab for doing this hazardous waste minimization. I did work with some of the government engineers and visited some facilities and used a software that was being developed by them, the hazardous waste minimization tool, like life cycle type analysis. So that was a paper out of that. Actually, Dr. Chen, he was not anticipating anything because he's a busy man with 250 people under him. So then there was an opening. Somehow I found that Illinois State Water Survey, which is a unit of the campus there, they had a half-time job opening in their groundwater section. There's a lady, Susan Shock, her name, good friend, later on. So she became half-time, and they're trying to fill that half-time position. And her husband moved to EPA from Illinois Water Survey. So that's how I ended up with taking that job, because it's right in the campus and it's in the groundwater area. And also being part of the campus, it covers my tuition and fees. I became more like an employee of the university. So money was good actually. That time it was $16,000 for half time. I didn't have to pay a penny for my tuition or fees, and started there. So that was the beginning. So then I left the Army lab, and right in the campus, I'm working for them half time. I'm beginning trying to take some classes, but the research was not set yet, because I still have to perform my requirements.
Yes.
So where we missed, yeah. So after leaving the job at the job means it was a research assistant job, because they can provide the RA ship to the campus, and I was working there. That covered my tuition and fees. But when this half-time job opening happened at the Illinois Water Survey, she was a colleague, Susan Shock. She was a GIS and all the environmental science person. Her husband was a water chemist, Michael Shock. I think if you are probably my water chemist, you'll know he's the lead expert in copper and lead person in EPA. Still there.
You said Michael?
Michael Shock, SCHOCK.
Yeah.
So we became friends.
Yeah,
she used to come a few times a week from Cincinnati. They were in Cincinnati. I was in Champaign. So we finished the project. We still are good friends. So I was with the Water Survey doing these domestic well contamination assessment, but that cannot be a PhD thesis. Then the Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, those days, congressionally allocated funding were available. So some senator from there or congressman got a bunch of money to look into water quality issues. So I wrote a proposal by myself, $70,000 I got for 2 years or 2.5 years, something, to develop a model for a pesticide transport in macroporous soils which have secondary pores. So that was, I had a couple of good mentors from soil physics, Tim Ellsworth, Charlie Bost, then my advisor, and then my immediate supervisor at the Water Survey, Ken Rehfeld. He was a PhD from MIT, I think, or New Mexico Tech. I'm forgetting somewhere. Yeah. So this good group, and they guided me, and so I developed a model for a pesticide transport 2D finite element model, and that was the PhD work. Then by the time I finished most of the work, then the Illinois Water Survey gave me a full-time job as they call associate professional scientist. I was there for a few years. But of course, these are not tenure track jobs. You are like staff scientist there. Then University of Hawaii had a position opening in groundwater, and I applied. I was lucky to get that job. What I hear that I was number 2, number 1 choice was somebody very famous at the University of Arizona, Jim Ye, his name. But he was already associate professor, and he cannot go for a lower rank. So they prefer to hire at assistant. So so that's how I was lucky. I got the job. So after 2.5 years of full-time work at Illinois Water Survey, my wife, daughter was born. That time she was about 6. We moved to Hawaii. So, so I was, as you say, that expertise both. I have done a lot of field work, water supply work, water quality work, all those things. Quantity assessment for groundwater. I didn't do that much surface water work, so to say, until a little bit later with one
later.
post. Yeah, but mostly groundwater quality, quantity type of things. Some modeling with my advisor, but mostly the unsaturated component, that was my strength.
So it means that, I just wanted to, because specifically in this program, we want to suggest or see that how, of course, how PhD happened, it is very clear to you this, but how much is the PhD problem? How much is yours? And what kind of supervision you got? Whether there were some tough time? So just a kind of summary of that PhD.
Since I came from industry, because basically, and this is a project I wrote and I got funded myself. So, but I had to consult with my advisor, and the two, the classes I was taking that time, they were soil physics classes. Tim Ellsworth is a young person in our agronomy, agronomy, their new name now. That time it was agronomy or soils department. And Charlie Bost is originally as a mathematician, but he had a PhD in soil physics. So those guys knew that how to solve these problems. But my advisor strength in modeling, so they're all complementary to each other. So then Tim basically helped me in the proposal writing. So we got that funded. $70,000, no indirect cost, no overhead. So I was earning 16,000. I said, okay, I'll go 2/3, a little bit more I made. I forget what was making, whatever came out. So that supported me for 2.5 years to finish my PhD. So I basically was the employee of the Illinois Water Survey. I was working on this, but helping them in that pesticide assessment project and all those things and whatever needed help.
So it was not a very typical student kind of a PhD. It was you had the fund, you had the job, and along that you have done your PhD.
Yeah, I had another close friend, Ed Maynard, his name. He took retirement actually in Illinois Water Geological Survey. He was an engineer there. He also was a student of my advisor. Same thing. He basically worked full time and did his PhD, and I worked only 2/3 time, and 1/3 I put for my PhD. So that's how we did. And in Illinois, one time was the place for groundwater. All these big name guys, George Pinder, Alan Freeze, all those, Paul Witherspoon, they all came out of Illinois. So, but Illinois Water, Tom Prickett, the person who wrote the one of the first groundwater models called Plasm, Prickett Longquist Aquifer Simulation Model. He was still there actually. He was a good friend of mine. Then he worked on the random walk model, so I knew all those people. It was a good thing, and every weekend we used to go to my wife's sister's place, and it was good living there. Although money was not that much, it was enough to have some good living there and good school. The friendship with Dr. Bhaloki was very good. Then also eventually there was a little bit personal tragedy on his side. His wife died of cancer, and my wife really spent quite a bit time with her.
And this is when before your PhD finished? Before
finishing the PhD, yeah. So it was, he went through really very tough times.
Hell time.
Then Denise's sisters, sometimes Al's mother, they will come, and because Ben was there, the young boy. And so my wife sometimes used to help them, and she was in a lot of pain and did all these things. And anyway, so.
And the boy was not so old, right? He was.
No, he was, by the time she died, he was maybe 4 or 5 years old or something. Then they had a girl also, but she was born just before she died. So
How was
the,
your, I mean, as an assistant professor, because you were very, very mature by that time. So how was your first PhD? I mean, you student, how was that being mentor?
Hawaii, of course, is not a typical place where you can get many students because it's a kind of out in the Pacific. So you have to rely on what is available, but plus also those days, for some reason, I said, I want an academic job, but you could have bargained in the mainland here for more money. But they gave me 1 month summer support and $10,000 as startup. That's it. There's nothing more. So I had to find the money. But I was lucky that I met a professor who had retired from agronomy department, their agronomy and soils, Dr. Richard Green, his name. And these are all these, I say all these people, they are all living, many of them in their 80s, 90s. He's 90 something, 94 now, 93, 94. Very dedicated person. And his son is my youngest son is my age actually. So we became good friends, and he was kind of my mentor doing field work, lab work. He allowed me to use his lab there in the soils program they had. And that's how I slowly tried to write some proposals. In the beginning, I just had a master student. I am recalling that because there was no money to support anybody. Then what happens that I write a proposal to do this pesticide assessment, the work I had done over the years in Illinois, using artificial neural networks. So first year it didn't get funded, but second year I finished the proposal already, gave to Dr. Green to read. He had very thoughtful comments, and I got funded for 2 years. I had some money, and then I got a master student and also a postdoc from Asian Institute of Technology, Bangkok. The postdoc's name is Golak Sahu. He was a marvelous person, actually. Came with ODI guy, but highly dedicated. I would say workaholic. And the year and a half I had with him, he already published 4 or 5 papers. Then he went to UC Davis when I was running out of money. Went to work there with Professor Jeff Schlado, his name. He was at the Lake Tahoe Research Center. He's a modeling person. He did some destratification work through bubbles, modeling tools. Using fine bubbles, you can break the lake stratification, trying to create a mixing process, hydrodynamics and all those, oxygen transfer, all those things he was doing. So that really started. Then I got a student. The first student was a Thai student. She came from Thammasat University's campus in near the AIT campus for a master's with the East-West Center. Then she stayed for PhD. So 2 years support from masters and 2 years the East-West Center gave her. Then I had some collaboration with the Louisville Water Company. They funded another 2 more years. So she was the first PhD. Her name is Mankolaya Rungbhet Bhutia.
Where she is now?
She is one of these executive positions in East Water Company, which provides, it's a bulk seller of water to the city of Bangkok.
Wow, powerful. This from the University of Hawaii, you become full professor. How long you served there?
I was there, I think about 9 years. I became full professor.
Yeah, so it was a bit rapid, isn't it? I mean,
typically there. Then I gradually got some more competitive funding from USDA, other entities, and then gradually came to know some folks there, good friends there, like us. That time the associate VP for our research was Dan Nishi, and he's,
And you had a lot of experience, no, between master and the PhD, because it was almost 10 years you worked and had a lot of experience. So in fact, if you wanted, you could have, even after PhD, you could have gone for associate, but I mean, the very
Possibly,
reasonably.
because a lot of places it's not easy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and now a little bit about a researcher and a very hard-working engineer and from humble background who has the very strong mind and ambition, and he finished with like reaching there, becoming a respected in the peers, and so many professors. I am very much astonished that how meticulously you remember all persons. So that also shows how grateful a human being you are, and that kind of this property I have been seeing very so since now it is 6th year since I know you and we met. So it is now. Tell me that how after PhD there, how you moved to the UNL, and how has been this journey?
Before I go, let me just I should not forget one thing, that when I went to Texas Tech, they had a host family system. I don't know if you know what is a host family, that foreign students come and then their local family, they kind of help them. So they assigned me to a person who was a librarian that time. So my host mom. So there are 2 other students. So we stayed in touch for a long time. I mean, still, she's in Dallas area right now. So it's like she will send me a gift or anything. Even when I want to get married in India, she had given me some gold thing, but I don't know, in Calcutta, I lost it. I never told her that I lost it. Because, I was tired with a long travel, and somewhere in the taxi, I must have left it. So it's in my pocket that time. So she's about 90 now. So when she was 80, I brought her to Hawaii to spend some time with me. And yeah, so those are the things. Yeah, these are the people who have been kind of in my life, although it's a kind of dual life, my own family there, but these are the people.
No, so one aspect is that you remember all of them, and in last 1 hour or so, you have consistently saying that destiny plays the role, and you meet the good people, and it helps those things. That is very sweet. I mean, that is very nice that you believe that we meet people and for some reason. You become director at University of Hawaii also.
Yeah.
So can you tell me that why you were chosen even and how there was a, like, being an Indian origin helped you, or there was no such anything? What is your take on that?
You know what happened? Hawaii, the cost of living was so much. Yeah, I said, maybe it's time to leave, go to mainland and find a job somewhere. So 1 year I took a leave, 2008 January, left, went to University of Georgia. University of Georgia was opening a new school of engineering that time. I thought that might be a good opportunity to go. But then, turning something, a department into an engineering college will take many, many years, even decades. So I realized that no, it's not probably going to work out. Then I was still maintaining my research in Hawaii that time. And the name I mentioned, the associate VP for research, his wife was in our College of Engineering. She knew me, what I was doing, and close to the dean, and she was instrumental in bringing me back, saying, come back, and she talked to the vice chancellor for research. And then they say, okay, if you come back, we'll give you something.
Directorship. Okay.
Something, yeah. So that happened in a year. After I came back, they made me the interim director. But then this thing grew, that connectivity. Dan Ishii, his name, the associate VC, vice president. I mean, he was well connected to Senator Inouye that time, and also federal entities. He used to take me and meet with people in Oak Ridge, go to Army labs, other places, or a Navy. Then once also we had a program with the all the military folks. Hawaii is the headquarters of the Pacific Command, now Indo-Pacific Command. So Admiral Willard that time was the head man. And these are powerful people. You don't, I mean, say, being an Indian,
Yes,
I did not know that how powerful are these
they are.
military brasses. Yeah. So under him was a rear admiral. Surprisingly, he was from Nebraska. Rear Admiral Robin Waters. He was assigned to us to work in a collaborative relationship between the Navy and the University of Hawaii. So the first project I got was humanitarian assistance water supply during disasters. So following earthquakes or all those things, when the military goes, they will run the reverse osmosis system on the shipboard, provide the drinking water, but they have to leave in a couple of weeks. They cannot keep an aircraft carrier or big ship there. So how these people are going to get back to their life? So this is where they had many exercises. So for 3 years, we went to Thailand to do this exercise called Crimson Viper. That's where a Thai military and the US Marines work together with private companies and some universities to find technologies for water solutions. So that was a big eye-opener. Coming to know some of the high-ranking military officials in Thai military. Then they send that time a lieutenant colonel from the Royal Thai Military Academy in Nakhon Nayak to do his PhD with me. So he, so you end up with all these connections. Then Robin Waters retired from the Navy.
Did he Did he complete PhD under?
Yeah, he came to Hawaii the year I left, so he stayed there to do his English classes because he's mostly he speaks Thai and German. He was with the prince in that time. The prince, because King Bhumibol was the king in Thailand. So I forget that. Forgetting that time the Bajra Lankan, the prince. He was staying in Munich, so he had a group of military people assigned to him. So this guy, his name is, we call him Num Pungpun Juntakut, his last name. So he was assigned to Munich. So he, after high school, I believe he studied in Munich in German. Then he wanted to get a PhD because he was assigned to teach at the military academy. Then after I left, he did his English in Hawaii and came to Nebraska. But of course, he was funded by the Thai military for his study. So he went back and now he's a colonel actually. He's again still connected with the royal family. I see sometimes photos once in a while. So we are still trying to finish his last paper. He published 2 papers. Weekends I try to talk with him. So that's how the connectivity grew quite a bit. Coming back to the director position, the last director retired and they made me the interim director. But there are some issues. The center was going through financing, but I somehow was able to manage and pull it out. And then I said, yeah, it's probably time. The daughter was already in a medical school in the East Coast. Time to maybe see some more chances. The cost of living in Hawaii was an issue. So Nebraska had an opening, director of this center, and they're opening this new Water for Food Institute. I applied and lucky to get this.
No, applied or you were asked to apply? Because you said that there were some military personnel from Nebraska.
Yeah, but I did apply myself because the military person, it's a later connection which I made. He retired from the Navy and he was in a startup company with some MIT person providing lab equipment to Africa, and that's how we got connected again. And now our president is a vice admiral from the Navy, so he knew Admiral Willard in Hawaii. But once Robin Waters, I mentioned to him, he came and both of them met and they remembered their past days and all that. So yeah.
So I mean, yes, sir. Please go ahead.
No, I know. I think I applied myself. I thought it will be at least closer to the place my wife's sister is there, and then
they are in Illinois.
Illinois, yeah, 7 hours from here.
I mean, becoming a director of the well-established center is fine, but Water for Food Institute or center, you call it.
Yeah, institute.
Institute and Global Institute in the name itself.
Yeah.
So Nebraska. So didn't you? Who were your competitors? I mean, my point is that whether you didn't you get scared that this is a new thing you have to establish from the scratch, and how has been the journey?
Yeah, no, I'm scared because I was quite a bit experienced because the Hawaii gave me really the footing to survive by myself. Okay, you come from nothing. There was no startup money, and you start from the scratch. There was $10,000 and 1 month summer support. That was the thing given to me. Then I built the program. By the time I left, I had so much money, and then I was in charge of I know a few $1 million project in the water center, water resources research center there. Hired new faculty. In fact, I had 2 faculty and left them there. One of them is still there, and he's now coming every summer here. He's saying, "Oh, you hired me and left me there." So, and then the main thing is that this relationship building that I still have something going for the University of not University of Hawaii, Hawaii Department of Agriculture there. This pesticide leaching. I did leachability assessment. This also connected with me with the regulators, EPA, pesticide companies, and some of the complex issues you have to deal with farm bureaus, then deal with communities. So by the time I came here, I was pretty matured. But of course, you are a non-native or non-English speaking person. That factory there, it is primarily an agricultural state and all that. But fortunately, Roberto Lenton was that time the executive director of the new institute, and he is a well-traveled man, original from Argentina. And probably they might have sensed something that I have something to offer. So he was in Ford Foundation in India, then IMI in Sri Lanka, then came back to the inspection panel of the World Bank, and they hired him from there. So I had a strong background in various connectivities, all these military to local domestic water issues and agri-related things. But then I don't know, it took a little bit time. There must have been quite a few contenders, I know, because I know somebody I'm not going to name that he told my friend that, "Oh, this is a dream job. I'm going to, if I can get it, I'll retire there." But it was highly competitive. And the first night, it was overnight flight from Hawaii. And then same afternoon, I have a meeting with the president of the university system, then the vice chancellor for Institute of Ag and Natural Resources, Roberto Lenton. I don't know if Prem Paul, research vice president, was there or not. So the president asked something. I hope the money doesn't go to University of Hawaii or University of Michigan. I didn't understand what they're talking about. So I was kind of sleepy also, partly not sleeping. So later on, I asked Roberto what did he mean. They're saying that in Nebraska, a lot of the groundwater related work is done by a professor or professors from Michigan State. That was not going well with the president that time. He was thinking that we should have the leadership to do things here. So I said, okay, that will take some time, but we have to have the people to do the work. Then we have to have also funding and all those. So that's how it started. And I said, you cannot build a program without funding and also overnight. So you have to partner with other universities. So the first thing I did was partnering with Colorado State and a few. There are people who are my counterparts. I try to reach out to them to work on a proposal. That same year, Kansas State put one, but neither of them got. Then I got back to my colleague at Colorado State saying, why do not we join hands together and maybe find a gender balanced team to go for this. So next year we did, and it's a $10 million project came. Nebraska got $1 million with 4 or 5 people working on that. Then a year or so later, another opportunity came with Penn State. Same thing I did, $5 million project with some bunch of ag economists, social scientists working on that. Those, then there are also other, because my job here is basically guiding the people, not to do my own research. It's
of course. I mean, here there is a two questions. One, I will take you back a little bit, but maybe later. The first thing, because the context is this, what it takes to be a good administrator, a good mentor. Because now I am just a new head of the department, and what I am feeling is that working by myself is easier. I
Yeah.
can keep myself motivated, or I can work. But getting other people do excel or do
Yeah.
well is more difficult. So what is your observation or your?
Yeah, and sometimes, as you said, maybe luck is a factor, but at the same time, the openness and willing to work. Like I somehow ended up with a student from Italy, and he came from one of their best schools, La Sapienza, with masters. English was hard to understand, and he he wanted to, with a 10-month scholarship, to do something. Matteo Delesio, his name. But he was the most loyal person I ever had in my life. Still, got his PhD with me in Hawaii, came to Nebraska for postdoc, and I offered him a research assistant professor, and then he got a faculty position at the University of Mississippi now. So some of those type of people. There was another Indian student, Arvind Mohan Ram. He got his PhD, but basically ended up doing most of the work with my USGS colleagues, because that's where the lab was. So first thing is that you have to be willing to share things with people who you can trust, really. So many of my projects in Hawaii became more stressed with the one we did. Arvind Mohan Ram got his PhD, basically looking at the soil chemistry impacts on cryptosporidium attachment, detachment in tropical soils. So it is a combination of an engineer like me who does the transport experiments with a microbiologist, Ron Harvey from a US Geological Survey, and then the soil chemist from Arizona, John Shorover. So John had a postdoc, and with Ron basically helped my student to that's Mohan Ram Arvind to get his PhD. Another one also with a USDA scientist. So you have to look for the opportunities where I can maximize my benefits with right collaboration. I cannot do everything. If I do that, there are some people who do that.
Delegation is also very much important.
Yeah.
Trust, you are saying, is important.
Trust. Yeah.
And also trust to share is also important. Yeah. What else?
So the other was
because I am thinking that you are also a kind of some vision is also required.
Yeah, but vision is there, but vision doesn't come easily. Also, it's more more you work with people, more you read. Because just reading, sometimes I now see that I have a lot of friends in the consulting industry, in big engineering companies. But then that the field is, because the engineers, why I don't know what the trend in India, but now these big engineering companies are run by MBAs. Like Jacobs Engineering, or like former CS2ML, all these, or AECOM, they're all CEOs are MBAs because they're money management, but the engineers are getting off. So how can we, like, can the engineers be in a role like, this is what's changing in the food and agriculture space, but not in the hard engineering, that our engineers are going on as engineers and are retiring as a senior engineer. They're not getting the benefit. They're not getting the benefit of managing a company, managing the challenges, dealing with the hard issues of. Some of them are dealing with politics, but you work with the town engineers, you work with the town board or something, but not really as a CEO of a company that is a $10 billion, $20 billion. So how can you do that? What the MBA guy has you don't have? That's the thing. So those are the things I'm finding a little bit difficult in the traditional engineering, but. Look at this year, last year, the World Food Prize went to Ratan Lal, Professor Ratan Lal in Ohio State. But it's a lifelong work he has done on soil health. So how really now soil health is becoming so important to food production or food security, sustainability, all those things. So we have to go beyond traditional bridge building to like urban sustainability. what can be done in the how can you build the transportation infrastructure? What are the cost benefits? What are the, like northern cities you look at? So reaching out to people who have done this kind of thing, not to be shy. Like Saurabh Pandey, I recruited somebody. He's right now the second national member of National Academy of Engineering member. We have one in NAS and one in engineering here. Saurabh Pandey, he's the best known groundwater modeler in the world. And he has a unstructured grid of the mod flow USGS uses. He's a well-known modeling person. But I convinced him to come to University of Nebraska for a partial appointment, spend a little bit time with our faculty and there are local entities whose Nebraska DNR, Department of Natural Resources, because most of the water management are model based. And how can you really have somebody who's top notch to help these people? So this is what I had to do. So yeah, so the vision has to come not alone, because unless I'm meditating to get something, just one thing, that's okay. But the vision is, it's a so multi-dimensional nowadays. You have to have more contacts, you have to have more people keeping track of what is happening, and who are you can have a little niche. I'm a lot of times feeling that maybe I'm behind these people, and where I can be ahead of some people. So those kind of things all the time. Like this deep Veddo zone work, like deep nitrate in deep Veddo zone. That's one thing I feel like we have some strength here, that we have been in this business. Dan Snow is doing this for 10+ years, and I brought in some more expertise, and those are the kind of things. But sometimes if you look at other things, like you look at greenhouse gas emission from soil, nitrous oxide, or carbon storage, there may be other people who are ahead of us. How can you work with them? Maybe in ag data security, for some reason more recently. And I also look at people like who are doing these kind of things, that it doesn't matter whether they're here or not. Try to reach out, try to see that if they're willing to work with us. There is a group at University of North Texas in Denton, Dallas suburb. They have a computing school with 4,000 students, but a lot of PhDs also there, because there are a lot of teaching assistants needed. So I was in touch with this professor who has been working on smart agriculture. And I didn't find such a person in our campus. So we have now 3 or 4 papers in this area, blockchain technology or other things, how we apply data security, other things into, and what is all about smart agriculture. So those are kind of the things we have been, I won't say I had ahead of time, but you look at, I'm more on a problem solving person. Like, you see a problem, how can you solve it? Who are the people you can work with?
I said is that let's suppose that what are required. You have made a lot of, like WARI, or there are many programs was introduced by you, I guess, and also like you said, the Veddo's zone transport processes, or even riverbank filtration. So not only that, your deep understanding has helped you that where to focus, what to focus, and now it's been quite a long time that we can call that this center has already earned name. One thing that I was thinking that here you do not recruit direct faculties, or do you have, because only the associates and like that?
No, I don't recruit directly, because normally we try to work with the faculty. I don't want to do the work by myself. But once in a while, we may end up with somebody like, one of the WARI fellows, because I heard from somebody that, there is probably some people are saying that these WARI people are staying in the US. I don't think that's true, because out of 45, 50 people, I think one is here or in them, and there is probably one more somewhere outside country, Khalid or somebody, he's in South Africa or something. I have a list of the people. I think most of them have, most of them have gone back to India. Yes. So that is not the case. Out of 50 people, if only 2 are outside India, you cannot blame.
No. And nobody can make sure that, and you cannot snatch the right. If somebody wants to be there, you cannot snatch that right. Or after experiencing. So this is nowadays, it is very global. how do you deal with conflict? Or do you, as an administrator, I mean, just see, I'm not asking that as a administrator of this center, but just being an administrator, what are the virtues needed to be have, and then also how you deal with the conflict?
Yeah, because my dealing with the conflict is very unique, not like a typical faculty that I have to face the public. So that is the difficulty that the public means I can give you an incident that Roberto Lenton, that time the executive director of the Water for Food Institute, and the vice chancellor wrote an op-ed in a newspaper in Nebraska that how Nebraska is managing its water wisely. And they asked me, can we put your name? I said, without giving deeper thought, I said, okay, go ahead. But then within a week, I get a nasty letter from somebody who is not happy with that op-ed, saying in a nasty wording there. I don't want to repeat here. But he has some legitimacy to ask that also. He's a surface water irrigator. So he's the water he was getting from a canal is drying out because excessive groundwater pumpage has reduced the stream flow. There is not enough reservoir capacity to store it. So you have to be careful in dealing with that. But then other times the issues are the Nebraska has 23 natural resource districts. You probably know those, like how they manage their water quantity, quality. So one day 4 managers kept me after a lunch meeting and kind of blasted off about the university, that the university not doing enough to help the people in the state. I say, okay, I can take the message back. I'm not in an authority to tell you I can do this thing, but I can make things happen to some extent, working with you guys and the administrators at the university. So that took about a year and so, because these NRDs or a natural resource district, they have their boards. So our vice chancellor had to go and meet with them. What are the problems? Why they are complaining about Nebraska? And they said some good things about other states. So understanding their problem, and then the next step comes that how do we do this? We have to have a joint recruitment. So they will put some funding. I had to convince the university to put some funding to have joint staff member. Then to do these demonstration type experiments in the farmers fields, you need money. So how you deal with that? I have to find people who have the money. So Nebraska Environmental Trust or entities, these are government, taxpayer funded or lottery funded. So it's all this politicking. Bring that executive director to the managers, discuss what to be done, and so they got about $750,000 the initial demo project. So this small person. So then who are the people going to work? So this mix match of things like a matchmaking business. Then there are sometimes things flare up, things are not going well, or why as a typical faculty, you can say, I don't want to do this, but I cannot say that because I have to, one side I have to deal with these people, and other side I have to deal with or find the best people who can do it. And faculty, I don't have control over. So they will say, I don't want to do it. So though, and the vice chancellor's office also, a lot of times the NRDs are getting a lot of pressure that university is not delivering in time. And I have to push the vice chancellor quite a bit. Recently, I said, you have to take an unilateral approach that, or give me the responsibility. We just do it in a timely manner. Otherwise, we cannot, we just cannot linger things out. So those are the things you have to have, both legs, one in the public space, one in the university system. And you are trying to do things where the faculty are not reporting to you.
Part of the question was that what are the virtues one should have to be a good administrator?
Virtue, you have to listen to people first.
Yes.
Because without listening, if you don't have the patience to listen, you cannot solve the problem. So administration means it is everybody starting from you're a program assistant to dealing with the vice chancellor. All those things you have to deal with in the academic space and in the public space. Anybody, state employees to NRD employees to anybody, farmer or so. And you have to deal with both same time. So you have to build the trust that you can consistently or persistently work on a problem and try and be able to deliver it,
Mm.
the solution or whatever you're looking for, or at least stay engaged, don't get dropped off from the radar. And some faculty members saying that, oh, I don't like this, I just want to get out, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay, but I cannot show my face to these people in the next month's meeting. So these are the public people. So those, and now the city of Lincoln is looking for a second source of water. So they asked me if I can be in this committee, and the mayor is setting up with the 10 or so people from all aspects of life, businesses to NGOs to, any taxpayer, all that. So those are the things you have to have the quality of listening, understanding their problems, and that what you will be doing if you are them. But at the same time, you have to be strong to some extent that you have to have some deadline to deliver. If you know that this person is not going to be able to do this, tell them that, maybe better to drop out. I'll have to find somebody else to do it. Otherwise, it's going to pull everybody down. I had maybe not that many, because I have been lucky to some extent that the recruitment or people who I brought in, they all mostly have been good. If one or two cases, that's kind of a incidences out of their control, but you have to be a little bit careful in that recruitment also.
Yeah, I will come to that part. This is the last question of in your journey or your views, is that didn't you apply or thought to go back to India, or did you apply some point of time that no, I can, and
No.
if not, then why not?
India, when I finished my, let's say the work in the company, getting the green card, then getting a PhD, then going to Hawaii, because the daughter was born here, the wife was here, she has sister here, all those things. So I said, let me just try first in Hawaii. But then the issue comes when I was already at the University of Hawaii, then what position I'll go get when I go back? That question came also. I took a sabbatical actually 2004 in Hawaii. It was
Fulbright.
Fulbright. But then I saw also that I had good contacts, and IIT Kharagpur was the host. I spent quite a bit of time in Roorkee, other IITs also, Kanpur, and some of the engineering, NITs, on to Nepal for 10 days. But then the issue is, what can I do there? Because if I would have been, things have changed over time. Maybe the present government is more accepting people from outside.
Lateral entries are there. Yeah.
Yeah, but in the older system, I don't think
older
there was.
System, there was no scope. If you are not on the train of the first train, then you have missed all the train. Yeah, it's a kind of Harry Potter train or a station. Either you will enter or you will not enter. What are the 3 burning questions which is going to be relevant in the next decade, even in the next decade? And what is the contrast with the Indian problem?
Yeah, so one of the things what I'm seeing is going to be the next hot potato to deal with is climate impacts for food production as well as drinking water, all those lines. So the urban, rural sustainability, food sustainability, all those are tied to climate and water. So that's probably one of the big drivers. And then the corporations are already in that space. Deloitte already pledged $1 billion to these climate solutions. Microsoft is in a big way trying to go carbon negative since the company was formed. I forget what year this maybe 2050 or before that. So they are already investing heavily with agriculture sector, like trying to produce commodities so that you can store carbon or reduce greenhouse gas. Amazon Web Service, same way. Many companies, small startups and all that. Sometime down the road, the branding will be that this food you're buying in the supermarket is grown in a climate smart way. like organic brand. So you followed a practice that stored more carbon in the soil, at the same time reduced greenhouse gas. Or the meat coming to the market, chicken or fish or whatever, it's grown in a sustainable way. The grain which are fed to the animals, that's basically done in a very sustainable way.
Yeah, so sustainable agriculture and soil health also you have once told. Nowadays there is a like Sadhguru who is also trying to make a social movement towards that only upper part of the soil is can support the agriculture, so we how to not to lose it. So those things are there. Any special need in Indian context?
Yeah, there are two things happening that both for internal consumption as well as for export. India is becoming also export hub for many like cereals, like General Mills or other companies are there. They are making things in India and taking to other places. So what happens that if General Mills is trying to sell cereals made in India, their ultimate goal is to not to compete with the farmers, local farmers, to put them in jeopardy, because they want to do because they have the money. They probably can afford to do whatever they want to do in terms of higher amount of irrigation or more fertilizer use or best yields and all that. But can you really look into growing this in a sustainable way, but at the same time having the high quality, less nitrogen input, less water input? So the companies are looking for that, and if you get that tag, then it's a win-win for both the local farmers as well as the company itself, which is marketing the product in other countries. Right now, the India movie market is big, and popcorn. I did not know the popcorn is becoming a big thing in Indian movie theaters.
It's too much costly.
Guess who is in that popcorn market in India now? It's a big popcorn company from Nebraska called Preferred Popcorns. I was, and he has, I forget what, maybe 10,000 acres or 10,000 hectares, something like that, a large amount of acreage. But these are smallholder farmers, maybe 5,000 of them. They are growing under a contract basis the popcorn. Then he's making the popcorn and providing to the movie theaters. I think there may be some intermediary and all that. So the Indian Consulate General from Houston and other Nebraska governor, they were in a call. I was with them. I just came to know. So these are kind of the things happening also, that the technology, the popcorn growing is, it's genetic wise, seeds and all those things they can provide from here. But here in a push of a button, you can have your irrigation system, you can have, remote control tractors and all those things. But in India, it's hard to do. So how can you work with the local people to do this water management, do this nutrient management, do this production in a sustainable way, so that you not only provide a profit to the farmers, but at the same time conserve the resources, moisture sensors used for irrigation, or you use fertilizers in a way that will have less nitrous oxide emission, all those kind of things. So yeah, that's one thing you said. I asked for 3. So the second is the drinking water problems for India. Big cities,
They are your, like I recall my conversation with you when I was in Nebraska, that and there you have seen some river bed filtration thing. I mean, it needs to be protected as well as so I know that you have been working on that, and you said that this is the more burning problem in India.
Yeah. So first thing is that riverbank filtration works well when your source water quality is good. But if you have a river flow with 50% sewage, you cannot anticipate to produce drinking water out of that. So you are familiar with that ZAP chlorination, or a high initial shock chlorination that they do to kill the organics before treatment. So, but we don't monitor the trihalomethanes that really carefully, what it forms. So those are some of the issues, but there is fortunately my good colleague from Germany, Thomas Grischek. He has been working with many folks and NIH, Roorkee, and other places. Uttarakhand was one of the playgrounds for him. He did a lot of work there. Delhi is also looking for some of those Rani collector wells, and Delhi is quite a bit reliant on those sources. Ahmedabad, the Sabarmati wells, riverbed wells there. Okay, Baroda, there is huge potential. I think it could be explored. Railway has been using this for a long time, Medinipur's, other places. I was telling some colleagues at IIT Bhubaneswar that look into something on the Mahanadi, because both Cuttack and Bhubaneswar with maybe 1.5 million people now approaching, or over a million, I would say close to 1.5 million. The main treatment plant is only 30 million liters per day. So you don't need really a treatment plant if you go with a series of vertical wells, and that has the right location. Like upstream from Cuttack, there is a barrage, and you have year-round flow. You don't have really the pollution you see near Kanpur or you see near Lucknow. Lucknow, yeah, we looked into the Gomti River, but the sugar industry discharge was so heavy that the water was all the time dark. Kanpur also same issue, but now the new barrage has really helped quite a bit. Looking at places in Allahabad or Varanasi, of course, yeah. So that's one area in the coastal cities of Rajahmundry or Vijayawada. Some of the other places in Karnataka, another colleague of mine from Rhode Island, he has been working there for some years. Kali River, north part of Karnataka. So there is huge potential. It can be done. But I don't know. I think the traditional engineering approach, you have to have some management needed, that you cannot have too much scouring. You have to do in a way that in a place too much deposition and scouring can be avoided. But I think it's possible. Like if you have a controlled release system like this, Sabarmati is one of the ideal places for these collector wells right now, because you can augment the flow or you can reduce the flow, all those provisions.
So what is going to be your advice to someone who is so there is a three part of it. Part one is that advice to somebody who is going for PhD and confused that whether I should do it or not. Second, who is about to complete his PhD. So it is the most wondering time to maybe perhaps married also and don't know what to do, whether they will get job or whatever. And then and what will be your advice for becoming a good teacher? And so this is the three part.
Okay. The first part, somebody going for a PhD, the person has to answer himself or herself why you want a PhD. It's just for employment, or you enjoy the work you're going to do. Because there are many ways to earn money these days. IT industry, you can make more money than you just need a bachelor's degree, and not more than that. So doing a PhD, you must have some burning reason to do the PhD. So if the person is already set up that, okay, I want to do in this area, then the goal is to do research or be a professor. Then you look for a place where you can get the most satisfaction, or what you're looking for, the topic and critical mass research already happening. So that becomes a tricky thing also, because sometimes you don't get into schools with support where many things may be happening. So how do you really plan for that? Couple of things: you can take some time off, prepare, and then try to get in there. Like my approach, what I did, that I said, okay, I need to get a PhD from a bigger school. Then that will give me some stamp to get into another school where I can be more like a state university system. But if I get a PhD from anywhere just for the namesake, then I'll have to it's not that easy to get a decent academic job, unless I end up with somebody who publishes crazy and I have half a dozen papers before finishing my PhD. There is a possibility, but that route is not that common. So this, yeah, so the brand and place also, they have some role, and the professor who you are going to work with. And the financing part can be a little tricky. He may or may not get the funding. But the second part is that if you have a degree, master's degree, and you think I want to do the work in this area, it doesn't hurt that in 1 or 2 years break to mature and get some work done and publish in that area. That can really help getting into the program you want to.
And the one that is going to complete PhD?
Yeah, the one who is going to finish PhD, you have to be cognizant that you just cannot, you just have to keep your eyes open that where you want to go, because do you want to go to academia, or do you want to go to, some people are going to industry after PhD also. Like there are few companies, like I had an offer from Intera. Intera is one of the high-end companies in US. They for a nuclear waste storage at the Yucca Mountain high-level radioactive waste repository. Unsaturated flow, transport modeling, and the complex modeling, all those things. That's fine also if you enjoy that route, or it could be labs which can hire you. The federal labs in US, they cannot hire directly PhDs. So I right now have hired 2 postdocs. One is Indian origin, one is Chinese origin. They are employed by us at the University of Nebraska, but they're working for a project with the US Department of Agriculture. If they want to become researchers, most likely the funding is there, they can become, and then it's up to them that once they get a green card, they can get into some place they want to. So there is that green card thing, what I was mentioning. I don't know how explicit I want to be here, but there is this exceptional qualification category where the PhDs fall with high level of publication and all that. That's where it is nearly current in terms of getting a green card, like if you can qualify and accepted in that category. So it's good in that sense. So in yeah, if somebody becomes a green card holder and 5 years stays with the university, you can go anywhere, or you can go to federal labs where these guys are. The 2 people I have, they can go back and apply for a citizenship and be employed by those labs. That's how you see many of the foreign-born citizens
working for the
federal systems. You gradually get your citizenship and do that. But then, yeah, all 3 options are there. The preparing is that, yeah, you have to be careful also before you finish. Yeah, you have to have all your contacts, and key is the publication, because what comes out of your work, who are reading it, how impactful that is going to be. So I think you guys do a good job in India. It's becoming highly competitive in India also right now. The same thing here, that good publications, pedigree also helps, advisors, name recognition, school name to some extent. And
yeah, actually, I wanted to ask you that whether a brand or versus mentor, if there is a tough call to take, that there is a excellent mentor, but brand is not there, but there is an excellent brand, but the mentor is not up to the mark.
I think mentor always wins. Brand has to be above certain level, but I think if you above that platform, the brand probably doesn't play that much role. I have seen many brand people coming as my colleagues, but they got stuck in their life as associate professor for a long time. They never went beyond that, because the brand can take you certain stage, but it's all your drive and motivation to work beyond that. And if you can, so the brand is initial help to some extent, but mentor is the one which is lifelong. So that is and how you are trained, where you are trained, means what circumstances you have to deal with to go through all those things, how independent you are. And you learn something from the advisor or mentor, that what the person has gone through.
And then quantity versus quality.
I think quality is always good because Professor Weber, if I would have stayed with him, the anticipation was 2 papers. I think he used to operate in a way that in one paper he works on the theory, but of course the student doesn't know that much yet. So he becomes, used to be, I don't know whether he did that all his life or not. I see he's first author in a paper where the student is the second author. He might derive something the student has to solve and all that theory part, but then the experimental part, validating that theory, student is the first author, he's the second author. And he's very focused person, just one topic and all that. So same thing that, quality will be the best thing. If you are with a person coming up with a couple of EST papers, environmental science and technology, or a one PNS paper or something, that will be of much value than 5 papers in society journals.
So let me put it this way: is that one Nature or 2 ESNT or 4 Science of Total Environment? Which one you will choose?
If you have the opportunity to have all 3, I would say go for all. One Nature, one Nature, one EST, and one Stoughton. That's fine if you can do that. But if you cannot, just one ESNT and one Nature, that will be fine. Or 4 Stoughton and one ESNT, that will be fine also.
Yes. So I mean, because lately I have been interviewing one gentleman, and he said that his Science of Total Environment is getting much more citation. Oh yeah, I remember now. He is the editor-in-chief of Environmental Pollution, and he said that that I like to publish in now after having so much citations. He feel like Science of Total Environment or Environmental Pollution has more reader than the citations are more.
Because that thing is maybe in India you guys are probably using that as for me right now, whether the paper is in Stoughton or in
no, not for you. Actually, my next question is going to be that what are the virtues you look for when you recruit? So we are not talking at all that what you would like. I am just talking about your views. This is just completely views. You are beyond being measured through your publication. So
no, what I'm saying that if I have something either Stoughton or some ASC journal, and if that like Van Genukten's that retention function that was published as a division 6 or something, they say in a technical note series of the Soil Science Society of America journal. It's like 4-page paper. So but that has what I don't know how many 20,000-30,000 citations, maybe that paper.
Wow.
So or something, it's probably 20,000, I would say easily. So RETC, retention, it's a 1980 citation of Van Genukten. So it doesn't matter actually. Like Mesfin McConnell, who was with us, he was the water footprint person.
Yes.
So
I heard his lecture.
Yeah, when he was a postdoc with us, he had 12,000, 13,000 citations. Now he has 18,000, assistant professor. But then out of that, maybe 4 or 5 of them, what is all about water footprint or something like that. And a few of them have 4,000, 3,000 citations. So,
yes,
so that's fine. But now what I'm looking at that if any paper that has a solution what people can use, like my let's say can I have a paper somewhere people can cite it for what the cost of treating water in a rural community. Like you have tens of thousands of people in rural areas. We don't know exactly how many wells are there, what treatment technology they are using, or what the cost. So if that kind of paper, it may not go to Nature, it may not go to ESNT, but it could be some policy journal or something. That's fine. Like can we look into something like that? That's fine also with me because it's a practical solution and nobody has done.
I was asking that whether and what is your next dream or a step or as an academician? So that person that is from Japan, So that from the University of Tokyo, he was telling that he wants to connect his work to the society. He wants to now want to work for a society deliverable which can bring the change in the society. That is what is going to be his focus in the next 10 years.
Yeah, so
sorry.
yeah, that's what I know. The work more recently I'm doing in India, they're kind of same focus, because as I was doing the matchmaker here, recently one proposal was submitted to ICMR. So hydrologist from Roorkee, so environmental scientist from IIT Bombay, Sitara.
Who is the collaborator at both places, NIH and
Yeah, IIT Roorkee is his name is Mohit Mohanty. He's in the Water Resources Development Department, flood modeling guy. And then Penan Chinnasamy at Sitara,
okay.
IIT Bombay. Then PG Institute for Medical Research Education, the person Vijay. Then Niti Goswami at ICMR Jodhpur. So Vijay Padhi from Chandigarh, he brought in the ICMR connections and IMD connection and all that. So basically, this joint proposal was to ICMR for developing an early warning system for vector-borne diseases. So you have a couple of engineering people working with the medical professionals, and then one IMD person. So that's one thing. Right now, Penan is here, so trying to work with them. Also, Sitara he was looking into developing a market-based system for smallholders for a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, trying to connect him with the tribal farmers in Odisha, OEOT or NGOs and all those kind of things. So that's the type of work I'm doing right now. And if anything new happens, how to use your startup environment or in your technology environment to insert ag technology into smallholder farmers, where you can deal with water, deal with greenhouse gas, deal with marketing, deal with products, all those things, or IoT type things.
So while you're recruiting, you mentioned everything, in fact, but what do you, so I'm not talking about shortlisting stage. What do you look for at the interview stage?
For the students?
No, for both, for a student also and for a faculty also.
Yeah, faculty.
Or you can say in the 3 stages, for a student, postdoc, and faculty. It will be beneficial for my audience.
Yeah. Maybe let me do postdoc first, because that's what more recently I have done, looking at the type of work the student is doing, knowing the student a little bit before they complete the work. That helps, because then you know what the student is
capable of. You are much more first-hand data.
Yeah, and then you have to know the advisor to a great extent, that it is the right person. You can rely on the advisors.
Because he will be the sort of shadow also. Because as it says, Jaisa Guru Vaisa Chela. So maybe.
Yeah, I had maybe one incident where one postdoc did not work out, 1 or 2. So those you will learn from those. But getting a student, of course, I was lucky that I just had 1 or 2 recruitment, knowing they're bringing people from outside the engineering discipline to engineering, giving them a chance. But otherwise, many of the students came on their own. So, and sometimes you see that you will get a sense that this student seems good. Give them a chance, or give this person a chance, and see how this works out. I have taken 1 or 2 Indian students, but they came, didn't do very much, got a master's and went out to work somewhere. Being a professor, maybe your motivation is to have PhDs more. In US, they think that but I think you have to be realistic also, that PhD is not for everybody. If somebody is looking for a job, a master's is fine. But as long as you can get something out of that master's work to publish, that's fine with me also. It's mutual to some extent. But you guys have a little more rigid system. You have so many student streams coming for masters, so many for PhDs and all those things. We have much more flexibility on those. And with time, I relied a little bit more on the postdocs. I had many visiting students also. That's another thing. Over the years, I have such a good collaboration with Czech Technical University. I ended up with 7 or 8 people from them. Some of them will come as students for 1 year to do their research with me.
Question so you have already talked about the postdoc, what before hiring, and a student also you told. My question was that during interview, that is also that you have told are the just pre-interview thing. And that is a good thing. I understood that if I know the mentor, I know the source, I have seen that person working before, that is a great aspect. If let's suppose that you have some data, but during interview, what you are focusing on for a faculty?
Yeah, faculty, the ones I hired, of course, sometimes the publications you see them, they will be pretty much guided by their advisors by the time they come for assistant professor. But you have to make a little bit keen observation. Can this person be independent enough to do the work? So the one I had hired in a human dimension, like the water center in Hawaii. So that guy had a mental model, something, how you psychologically map things and all those, and a human response to some of the things, environmental things and all that. So I say, yeah, that looks good. Maybe the person might have some internal thinking process to connect this to something else. So we hired him. He was half-time with the center, half-time in another department. But after I left, they said that I left and they also left. He moved to Boston, University of Massachusetts, now at Michigan State. The other hydrologist we hired, a surface hydrologist, we went through the process, but I saw, this person is keen doing the work. Where you see the independence of the person before you hire. But is it solely, I see a bunch of people like somebody does some column experiments, the advisor might have done, write some equations and do those kind of things. Versus I'd like to see something open-ended. Can the person be a little bit creative? Or if I ask some question that this is the real problem, how you'll solve? Because you might have a very high impact paper in some journal, but it's so tightly done, you don't have errors, all those things. But in reality, we may not have a situation to find such ideal condition. So how you'll do that? So that's where you can figure out that who has really gone out of the track, out of the bullock cart track or some wheel track, that can you really get something resolved. So that's what I look for. Yeah.
Now let's in the last section. This is being human. Or I call it this section being human. So tell me, what do you like to do when you are not working on research or administration?
These days I'm listening to a lot of music. These are, Odia, it's a kind of, I don't think you guys know much about Odia language, because one time it was told it's not a separate language. But the medieval part of the Odia, the only thing I wish I would have done this, learning the formal way to understand our Odia ragas or Odia talas. So from the 17th century onward, 17th, the 200-300 years, a lot of writing. Actually, there are 2 Odia Ramayanas. The Odia Ramayana of Sarala Das, that's even older than Tulsi Ramayana. And there is another one called Jagamohan Ramayana, or they call Dandi Ramayana. There are 5 Odia Vaishnavas before Chaitanya. They were in Puri. So Balram Das, that was the person. And the Bhagavad was written by Jagannath Das. So those things will be hard to read, but I think I'm more interested in the music part of that. The most famous Odia poet of the 17th century is Upendra Bhanja. So he had 50 some odd manuscripts. I think some dozens of them are still missing now. He was a prince in a small kingdom and all that. And it's just mind-boggling of the language, the style. That there is a book he wrote called Vaidesa Bilasa. It's about Sita, basically. The entire every line starts with the B, Ba. So the mastery of the language, the singing style and all that. So same thing. His grandfather, Ghumusar Kingdom, that Dhananjay Bhanja, he wrote a Odia Kabya called Raghunath Vilas. So he said, then this grandson wrote it, and he said, this is my response to you, Vaidesa Vilasa. So same thing, so those are the things. We have something in music called Champu. Champu is more a Sanskrit type thing. I don't think I have not seen in other languages in Odia besides Sanskrit. So Kishore Chandranand Champu. So that's why, so these are kind of things these days I'm putting a lot of time to understand. There is a sect of people in Odisha. It's more recent that in the 1860s when there was a famine, so this group, the poet who wrote it, they're Olek. Olek is like a separate religion. They don't believe in idol worship. It's like a empty temple. It's called Sunya Mandir. So these are folks. Sometime you can look into that Olek Mahima or Mahima Dharma. So these are the folks. But they are also heavily influenced by the poverty, because these are people lower caste or tribals. So Bhima Bhoi they call him saint poet. So I'm listening to those things these days. So trying to understand, but my limitation is that understanding the proper way of how they are sung, the ragas, the talas. The dance part is good, Odia dance is good, but then you have to understand the tala part or the raga part. So those are, So those things I'm doing.
Dance is a little bit more complex than the music.
Singing.
So, and in order to enjoy dance in the full, you have to understand music.
Yeah. Because we have, all these things. Puri temple, they had these Devadasis or Maharis. They call Mahari dance. So these are difficult ones, classical Odissi. But Odissi, the dance part is okay. But I'm interested more on the medieval literature or these books written by these saintly poets like Bhima Bhoi, who was a tribal poet. He was by caste, he said, I'm Kandha. Kandha is one of the tribes of Odisha. So that's what he say. In ending the stanzas, he will say Bhima Kandha. So all those things. So I think it's kind of awkward these days. I say that you look at.
So here I would like to ask a little bit is that although I kept it for the last question for our interview, but if you would retire, would you like to come back to India?
Yeah, definitely. I'm thinking right now, all these connection I'm making, basically one or two places where things can be done with this poor. So the Odisha tribal poor, that Bill Mulligan's initial pre-proposal, that was the focus. I hope a good friend of mine, somebody comes as the Vice Chancellor as Odisha Agricultural University, because they have a strong connection with the locals and the natives, especially the tribal population. And then I'm quite happy that Penan Chinasamy from IIT Bombay, the Sitara person, he came from the US PhD, undergraduate and PhD, and then worked in a CGIAR system. And I'm trying to work with him to look into bringing the issues, the rural issues, into the the banks and NABARD or other entities. They have a stake in the game also. They are the lenders. So what they can do really for the rural poor, how to grow things in a sustainable way. So those are kind of the things talking about. It doesn't have to be all voluntary. You can do certain things. It can be a profit-making organization, but try to employ or train people in the tribal areas who can take care of things. another thing I have in my mind that someday I hope I get connected with folks at the Kalinga Institute of Social Science, KISS. I don't know if you guys know that. Some 25-30,000 tribal kids are a boarding school, free education. So some of those kids, can they really be coming to technology streams or something, can help rural vitalization in those areas, remote areas.
How do you handle pressure, or what is it like when things don't work your way?
Pressure, life's pressure and the work pressure, both are there. Life's pressure is there because you are dealing with a family. The families always have, cohesion or adhesion issues, cracks there. So sometimes you have to let the time heal. Just don't have to react to things. But at the work also, pressure is there. Yeah, it will be there, but probably somehow overreaction is the problem. I realize over time. You just have to take some time off to deal or cool things out. Like yesterday, I sent an email. This person just before closing, and this person, department chair, came back with a reply. But this associate professor said, "What do I do? How do I respond?" I said, "I'm not probably going to respond. Just acknowledge and do that. But in a day or so, I have to do my background work and see how I am going to respond to this." So those immediate reaction is not a good thing. You'll do a lot of mistakes.
Certainly, I think I cannot agree more, because I have now made a rule. If some mail makes me abnormal feeling or ignite anything special in my heart, I will not reply. I will take at least 24 hours. And many times I realized that after 24 hours, I was like, okay, I will now only write this much. But then after 48 hours, oh, there is no need. And after 72 hours, problem is already sorted out.
Yeah. So that quick reaction sometimes causes issues.
Always causes issues, I guess. Because
And then also, my wife sometimes say that, "Oh, how come you don't react to things?" I say, reacting, maybe this is what, like when something, this is where I get the peace, like listening to like say this tribal poets songs. I think they have something, sometime this is I don't want to get to religious context that when people say that this person was talking to the God or all that, or God talks back. So you develop from those writings, you can read that how this person is so intimately connecting with the God, saying what he's saying and what he's anticipating, all those things. So those things only come when you have deep involvement with your devotion to God. That doesn't come with time. So and how many people are we know that Adi Shankar, his guru was waiting for him. He went to see him, from Kerala. And same thing, this Mahima Goswami, who was the guru, he said, my disciple is waiting for me. I have a disciple this direction from this mountain I'm going, I'll find him. So those things happen, those feelings are, if you can somehow immerse yourself getting out of those things. I think this is what I say, I get the relief in this music, not the traditional, means common day music, but they have to be somewhat thought provoking, and what they have really done. I mean, basically looking at so this Bhima Bhoi case, I was saying that famine of 1860s, people are not having enough to eat, and he's tired. He's a 8-10-year-old boy or some young man trying cow herding, and then he's singing the life's sorrows. That his point is that the world or the earth is suffering, but let my life be in hell so that the earth can be saved. So those kind of things. So you have to have some.
But one thing that I have seen is that you have very control over talking. I mean, when you talk, but when to talk is the you have some grip over this. How did you develop that?
I think
or let's suppose that let's suppose that today I am saying you something and it did go well with you, but still you will not show in the expression. How is it possible? I mean, how do you do that?
I think probably with time you will get those, when growing up, when you are in the 20s or early 30s, probably the reaction is immediate, but you become more controlled and you make mistakes. Maybe somebody, if it's better to learn from your partner, like a wife. If she says something, yeah, where I might have made a mistake, she might, and you have to take it seriously. Or you can make a mistake with your wife, but when you make a mistake with somebody else, how you want to control yourself? Yeah, so those things you have to watch a little bit, but it doesn't come with time. I mean, it doesn't come immediately.
It does come with time.
Yeah.
How do you balance family life and professional ambitions? Because you are a successful father, I want to tell the audience is that you have a single daughter, and she has got even prize from President Obama. She is a medical doctor, and I have seen so many awards what she has won in your house. So you have been a successful father. So how did you do that? And how did you balance now and previously?
I think more credit goes to my wife than me, because she was a housewife. She took care of most of the things for her. And also growing up, when I mentioned my advisor's son, then my daughter and this other friend's daughter, and another faculty son, 4 of them, they used to make some arrangements that take them to children's museum, take them to some place from Champagne. So you develop a group, but I didn't have the time. My wife was going with this group that, okay, 2 women will go and take these kids to some library, some place to show things around. So as they're growing up, they develop some interest to get things going. But then it's a right now it's like a mad rush right now, depending upon both husband and wife are working. No time for the children. But I was lucky that my wife was not working, although financially it was a bit difficult. But now you see the benefit of that you have to have somebody with the kid while growing up. Just sending to tuition or doing things is not going to work.
That is not enough. Your 3 major strengths which have helped you become such a big name, and also so 3 major strengths.
I don't know whether big name you can say, but the main thing that strength is that you respect everybody, whether as I said that you are a person the lowest rank in the office to the highest person in the organization. You have the respect of each person as a human being. You cannot be as you say that your behavior has to be respectful, because each one is a soul. Whether the person might do something good or bad with time, but you have to be always
respecting
merciful.
The soul.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I can be abrasive or all that, but what is good going to do to me? Then nothing really. And then when I go to my village, sometimes people will come from like the village carpenter or somebody, the washerwoman, and I just talk to them. They will ask things and all that, but other people probably don't do that, because that's one of the
they
things.
feel themselves big.
Yeah. So that's one of the things. You have to be understanding their situation. Maybe if I would not have come out, I would have been one of them. I had classmates or even Harijans who are classmates. They're doing daily laborers, and so how this is kind of the thing you have to be grateful to.
God, grateful to the condition, grateful to the society, and never to forgetting the root is one of the crime, I guess. If you are connected, it will give you resilience also. If you are connected to your roots, no matter where your last flower is flowering, but you will always get nourishment, which you cannot get, because at the end of the day, you have said that it is the music from which you are getting your console, or you are getting the strength to deal the tension of the work life.
Yeah. But there actually the music is what I said, that the singing style is also important. But the thing is that this music are not the common music. Even I say Hanuman Chalisa is great, or
No,
but
I
these are
understood.
But these are kind of the feeling of a person to the God, or other way around that. And then you get, I mean, not being a native Hindi speaker, that's a little difficult for me. That I don't get few things I get in
No.
I
I understand that. I mean, because we also have folk song from in Mithila or in Maithili. So this is I can understand exactly, and you have even given a lot of detailing that how it was starting with the bird, how some boy is wishing that I can go to hell if Earth has to survive. These are the very, very big ideas, which is in terms of music you are listening, but you are getting that connect with that feeling. And that gives you, make you also humble, it make you resilient system.
Yeah. So when I'm walking in the morning, maybe I'm singing that song like Praninka Aratva Dukha from it. Yeah. So that's kind of in your mind, it's going that, and then you are pretty much blank in your mind, that you don't have any thought of anything else. You're just walking and having that. Yeah.
So my
that's
next question was that how was your day? How do you a typical day, a normal day? Because
normally,
I asked you before and I got the answer, but I want for the audience.
So yeah, I get up very early, like 4:35. Then I do my little bit, before getting up, some prayers, 4 or 5 things. Then do a little mild pranayam. Then I went for about 80 minutes, 1 hour 20 minutes walk, 4.5 miles.
Wow!
Then
Every
I
day.
came back. Yeah, but summertime a little more. Winter time, of course, cannot go outside. So. So do in the treadmill or something. Then I did.
So it is a brisk walking, not jogging.
No, brisk walking. Yeah, I used to do bicycling, but I know because of this I had a car accident. I didn't tell you that in end of April. That's what was the issue, the neck injury. But before that, the pelvic fracture from the bicycle accident. So anyway, so that and back to normal almost. So then I come back and do a little bit of other exercises. Then eat and go to work, and whatever I do at work. And the evening we have a little small garden. I'm just taking care of that.
Something you are not good at.
Something good, not good. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe pick a fight with somebody.
What? Fight with? Okay. You are not good at fight with somebody. Yeah. Now it is a rapid fire. Your most favorite author?
I have to go back to my old thing where I'm getting my soothing. I would say that most favorite, it will be hard for me, but I think more in the present thinking, I'm thinking it will be that tribal poet, Bhima Bhoi.
Bhima Bhoi. And your favorite food?
Favorite food is dal, means some Odia, dalma.
Dalma.
I don't even know what's dalma, no.
Yeah, I know. No, we we eat dalma more during our. I mean, if we are sick, but earlier we used to have more. Of course, we are missing. I am missing out on those traditional or some occasional food. A lot of food is also changing. I don't know until.
But somehow the Odia food is more tribal related. All these Jagannath cooking is all. They have the tribal roots, so and it is not too much oil, or it's mostly
Your favorite drink?
Water.
Okay.
I don't drink anything else other than water. I don't drink tea or coffee or nothing. Or no soft drink.
Even you don't drink at all, right? Tea, coffee.
No, only I'm drinking some hot water nowadays.
Never in your life?
Never. I never liked the coffee. Tea might have taken once or twice when my parents were in village. but never liked because they used to have tea with them. You know, the moody item, what is the puffed rice as a breakfast, but no.
What is your favorite possession? And
Nothing.
any good thing? Yeah,
Nothing.
nothing.
No,
Yeah,
nothing. I had like when I got married, I had like 10 or 12 rings. I don't know. I told my mother, give finish it off before you go. Give to people who.
Your favorite book?
Favorite book. I recently read this Norman Borlaug's, you know, the life of Norman Borlaug, how he became a scientist. That is probably one of the things feeding the humanity. The man who fed the world. That's the book.
Actually, one more book. I am just greedy. Tell me one more book.
The other one is, of course, Howard Buffett's that 40 Chances. That's a good book.
40 Chances.
Yeah.
Who is your favorite actor, both male and female? You don't watch a movie?
No.
Never in your life you watched?
And I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I think I cannot stand your current Bollywood things now.
Not current, ever, like Balraj Sahni or Amitabh Bachchan or Dilip
Yeah.
Kumar.
No, I have. Yeah, we have some. Yeah, you know, Hindi is, you know, Odia actually. I knew Odia. We had a good actor actually. He was a poster on the cabinet cigarette, Sriram Panda, but he has become a monk now. You know, Munger is, how far is Munger from your place?
Yeah, it is in Bihar. And
so he was such a successful actor and he quit movie and he became a monk now.
Oh, what is his name?
Sriram Panda.
Sriram Panda. Okay, great. Your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? Yeah, it's, you know, Satyajit Ray's, some of the movies are good. Ghare Baire.
Okay. What is your favorite quote or mantra?
Stay calm.
Stay calm amidst of disaster?
Storm, yeah. Even if a storm is going, yeah. You say, yeah, what happens if nothing exists? You just or walk, yeah.
Your favorite trip in the past?
Favorite trip was, I would say I still love the American Southwest, like California, Arizona, that's Utah, that side.
Your favorite destination, I mean, whenever you have leave, you used to go there. If you
travel destination, even. Travel, you know, the best place I like is Prague. In Czech.
No,
Prague, Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those 7 or 8 people I had, they take care of me very well and very nice.
Yeah. What is your bucket list?
Bucket list of things to do. That's quite a few still to do. Yeah, first of all is somehow getting to the poor in India, basically trying to do something that can really make a change in their thinking life and make them, especially bringing the, you know, can there be a life skills that can be easily given to these people so that they can really get out of this poverty trap. And that's the first thing. And another thing is, there are many things I had thought of doing, maybe forming my village, doing something, but that has not happened. What can I do? Somehow that's still thinking in my mind.
Now, last but not the least, if you were not in academics, what you would have been?
If I'm not a,
Academician, or what you are
I
not?
probably would have been a doctor. That's what I was my other goal. Somehow there are three things I had in my high school during the typhoid. I was thinking first choice will be IAS. No, I think first choice will be to go out of country. Second will be to be a doctor, and third to be an IAS officer.
Okay.
So maybe I got my number one choice.
And yeah, you are a I mean, very nicely. I have not seen the energy going down any time, and lot of recalling. So you have still a great brain on your soldier, because so much recalling I cannot do. Even from now, I am missing a lot of points. But your recalling was impeccable. You talked your heart out. So it seems like it was all worth waiting for quite some time. Thank you very much for.
Yeah, thanks. And I think it's what time there? It's past dinner,
Yeah,
10:30.
10:30.
Okay, thanks. I will let you go also have your dinner with your
Yeah,
family.
yeah. Now,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.